radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Welcome. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man, how you doing? It's Fade to Black. Wednesday, November 14th, 2018. 321 days into the new year, just 44 days left. Yeah. As always, we are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planets. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? I'm pretty good. Tonight, very special guest Patrick Wood is here. Technocracy 2.0. Just had Patrick on Coast to Coast on Sunday night. Great conversation. 2.5 hours on Coast. And I could tell we just left so much there. So we're gonna circle back around and discuss technocracy. Got his new book right here, Technocracy Rising, right there. And Patrick signed it for me too. It's really cool, man. You know, doesn't get any better than that, does it? All right, so there it is, Technocracy Rising. Patrick Wood tonight. Tomorrow night's another Fader night. Teresa Yannaris is here, and with her divine frequency on the airwaves, that will be tomorrow night. Followed by open lines all night long. All right. Now, on Stellar.com, Twitter, Twitter.com, Facebook, Facebook.com, YouTube, YouTube.com. That's where we hang out on social media. And it's all easy to find. You can go follow, like, and subscribe right now. Everything is over at jimmychurchradio.com. Send me a firm request. Do whatever you want to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can like our Facebook page. Follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio. At jchurchradio. All right. It's all easy to do. And the best part about us and social media here at Fade to Black is we have the sandbox, which is hashtag F2B on Twitter. And, you know, and I say it every night, but you have to understand, especially if you just don't believe it. Twitter is always live. It's always live right in front of me. The chat rooms are live. I can tell you who's in the chat rooms right now. Mateo, Talput, Tina. Does that say Talput? Talupt? Ed Z. David, I don't want to say his last name. Tina. You know, and that's just rattling by right now. Blip, 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 blip. Hello, everybody in the chat room. So we have chat rooms at KGRA, the planet. We have chat rooms on Spreaker. We have hashtag F2B, the sandbox, and then we even have email. Do you still use email? Email is Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Yeah, we don't do Facebook or what was it? Hold on. I almost had it. AOL. What was that called? those little chat rooms. Oh, they were called chat rooms, right? Or, when that buddy chat thing in your buddy list would pop up, buddy list. All right. Well, we don't do any of that, but we're close. It's the same kind of vibe. All right. So there you go. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. All right. Breaking news. Oh, yeah. I want to, we did this last year. We launched a news page over at jimmychurchradio.com. And now there were some technical issues with doing that. It's hard, man. That is a whole thing to undertake with that. Anyway, so we relaunched it again, and it was always there, but now, we had to tighten up a few things. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com. I put it up today, and click on the news section. So, and look at the articles that are there. Really, really good stuff. So go and check it out, okay? And this news story, this breaking news that I am going to do right now is over in our news section. Okay, so go and check it out at jimmychurchradio.com. Douglas Rain, unbelievable. The Canadian-born actor, best known as the voice of the HAL 9000 in 2001: A Space Odyssey and its sequel 2010, The Year We Made Contact, died this past Sunday at St. Mary's Hospital in St. Mary's, Ontario, Canada. He was 90 years old. Douglas Rain. Now, that's it. And see, this is what is so interesting. When you think about 2001, 2010, not so much, but in 2001, name the actors, right? Name some famous lines from the movie. They all come from HAL. Happy birthday to Frankie Banali. He's 67, I know, right? I did that privately today. Happy birthday, Frankie. I got some pictures of me and Frankie. Should I post them? Man, love Frankie Banali. Dude, but anyway, Douglas Rain. And so a computer was the star of that movie. Think about that for a second. Douglas Rain, 90 years old. Wow, there you go. South Korea's spy agency, the National Intelligence Service, otherwise known as the NIS, said today that North Korea is continuing its nuclear and missile activity. That's right. Earlier this week, a group at the Center for Strategic and International Studies said that they had located 13 out of an estimated 20 undeclared missile operating bases and published satellite images of its locations. I still don't know. I don't know how they get they clean that information out of those satellite images. I don't see it, but at least they label it, right? They got a little label maker and they label the images. I don't see it, but apparently they are there, but they're stirring up trouble again. Not North Korea, the media, right? Kicking up dust here. I don't know if it's real or not, but I did look at the images, and now the NIS, with all of the joy that was coming down, right? North and South Korea shaking hands. Now they don't have armed guards, right? At the checkpoint there in the DMZ. They did that. They made that announcement. Everybody hanging out and breaking bread and having dinner, and it just seemed like everything was headed in the right direction. Well, I don't know. Because this is South Korea reporting on this now. So we shall see. All right. One of the most frustrating things about Twitter, I was just talking about Twitter a few minutes ago, and, we love Twitter here. We like Jack Dorsey. Jack Dorsey's cool. And, hashtag F2B and our Twitter followers and the family and everything else. We love it, right? We love Twitter. But one of the things, and I have fallen victim to this, one of the things about Twitter is you better, before you hit tweet, you've got to make sure that you got it right, because there's no edit button. And so if you make a mistake, you've got to do what everybody else has been doing, copy and paste your tweet, delete the tweet, redo the tweet, and then fix whatever you messed up, whether it's a web link, you misspelled, misspelled a word, didn't put in a comma, whatever, right? Or just said something wrong, whatever. But you can't go back and fix it. You can't edit the tweet, right? It's one of the most frustrating things about Twitter. And so I want to fix my typos. Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey has revealed that they are indeed planning to bring an edit button to the platform. Dorsey says, now this is interesting. Dorsey says that an edit button would be great for fixing typos, but they have to figure out a way to prevent users from editing all of their tweets from the past. Why? Twitter considers it public record. They don't want you to change the past. They don't want you to be 1984, right? The Ministry of Truth, going back and changing history. That's the part. That's why there's no edit button. When you tweet, copy, delete, edit, repost. That's it. That's exactly it. So anyway, they consider a lockdown on public record when you tweet. That's it. And now you can delete it. It's also in your tweet history. People can still go and get it. So what do we do about this? How is it fixed? What do we do? Well, there's a couple of solutions here that I would suggest. One, how about right when you tweet, right when you tweet and you catch it, you get like a minute. You get a 60-second edit opportunity, right? 2 minutes. You can go and edit, fix it, and then continue, right? Maybe you said something bad. Maybe you used a bad word. Oh, I don't want to use that bad word. I want to take that out. Okay, all right. And then still have the original unedited tweet in your tweet history, right? So why not, a little 60-second, right? A little 2-minute, and then after that, you're in lockdown and you're stuck. I think that's a great idea. Definitely anything from this point forward, if they add the edit button, you can't go back and change anything. You can't change anything from an hour, 2 hours, a day ago, a week, a month ago. Can't do it, right? But at least give us the opportunity to save face because we misspelled a word, right? When you think about through, tough, though, right? Well, those are easy things to mess up in a sentence. And some people can't spell Wednesday, right? I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. But fixing a typo is a necessity in Twitter, and there should be an edit button. All right? 10 minutes? Is 10 minutes? Ooh, that's a long time. 10 minutes. Delete history instead of change it. That's funny. But Mike Schwartz, Spooky Moon, 10 minutes. Why 10 minutes? See, I can reach out to Jack, all right, and I'll do that. I can reach out to him. I really can. But I want to suggest the right thing, right? Don't you hate it when it's right in your mind and you recheck and there? I know. I do that all the time with Twitter. I do. I make sure. One of the most embarrassing things that I go through on Twitter is I don't do it often, but when it happens, it hurts. And that's you misspell a simple word. And then everybody out there will notice it, and they love cracking on you for it. And I don't like being caught. I hate that. I don't like it. So anyway, I'm thinking 60 seconds. I think 60 seconds is, look, how many? It's 240 characters. I don't want to dwell on this. I've got other stuff to talk about, but 240 characters. So 60 seconds. You compose the tweet, you take a look at it, boom, you check, done, and you look, and one of the things that you can't do in your tweet is you can't click on a link, right? So the tweet goes up and you click on the link and just make sure that it works. If it doesn't work, go back, edit, take it out, cut and paste, throw in the new link, and then click send. So I think that's the way to go. 60 seconds, 2 minutes, 10 minutes. The reason why is you don't want to put up something and then 10 minutes later, because somebody didn't like it or people start fighting with you or somebody sees or whatever, that That's not the way to go, in my opinion. So there you go. All right. Okay. Oh, man. I can't wait to get Patrick Wood on the show because the text that he just sent me, I am just gonna, and I can't text him back. So Rita, you know what to do, Rita. Handle it. Okay, yeah, Rita, handle it. I can't text at the same time. It's all good though, Rita. It's all good. I need you to handle that. Okay, now also today, moving on from Twitter. Astronomers have found the second closest planet to us, frozen exoplanet, more than 3 times the mass of our Earth, and it's orbiting Barnard's star. It's only 6 light years away. It's the closest solitary star to our sun. Okay, we've got Proxima Centauri. There's 3 stars there, but solitary star alone, it's the closest to us. Yeah. Now, this is what's crazy. It not only is the second closest to us, but this exoplanet was found orbiting, and it's frozen. What they're now saying, water, but frozen water, no thawed water. And they're guessing it took 20 years of analyzing data to figure this out. They knew something was there. But over in Alpha Centauri, that was discovered last year. So now the 2 closest star systems to us, right? Barnard Star, Proxima Centauri, both have planets. That's right, exoplanets. And they're right there. That is about as exciting as it gets. All right. Now, don't forget, subscribe to our podcast. It's just $2 per month. Go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the podcast banner. It's just $2 a month. All right? It's very simple. You can also become a Fadernaut over in our membership section of jimmychurchradio.com. The new website is looking good, by the way. It's going to launch on January 1st. Go to our membership section on the site where you can get commercial-free, downloadable archives. That's right. And you also get that autographed Fade to Black gear, hats. The hats are only available if you become a game changer. And don't forget all of our sponsors here at Jimmy Church Radio. Click on all of their banners at jimmychurchradio.com. All of the promo codes are there that you need. They have been with us forever, and it's how this show happens. Let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday to today. Travis Barker is 43. That's right, Blink 182. Yeah, Travis Barker, one of the baddest stickmen on this planet. 43 years old. And this is what's crazy. He's a drummer. Go now and go Travis Barker net worth. And look what drums have done for that young man. Oh, my goodness. Patrick Warburton, one of my favorites, one of the funniest today, is 54. Yanni. Remember Yanni? You know, the guy from Greece with the beard? I mean, the mustache? The Frank Zappa? Kind of looked like Frank, right? Yanni today is 64. And we got to stop here. Run. That's right. Run, a.k.a. Joseph Simmons, today is 53 years old. On this day in history, 1969, it went down Apollo 12. The second manned mission to the moon is launched from Cape Canaveral, Florida. But a lot of people don't know that 36 seconds after takeoff, lightning struck the Saturn V launch rocket, which tripped the circuit breakers in the command module and caused a complete power failure. But within a few minutes, power was restored and all was good. And then on November 24th, Apollo 12 successfully returned to Earth. And when it did, this is what's crazy. It on the splashdown, it was 3 miles away from one of its recovery boats. I think it was the Hornet. I could be wrong. It was an aircraft carrier, though. Yeah. I'm depending on in 1969, how old was I? I was 6. But I do remember these things. Fader fact. About 150 people a year are killed by coconuts. And that is your Fader fact. All right. Now, Somebody texted. Where did I see it? It might have been on Facebook. Might have been on Facebook. Maybe it was somewhere else. Maybe it was an email that said, I need a cough sipping button before the rant. Right? That I should hit the cough button. This. But if I did that, which I just did, then I can't do this. Well, I hit this. So there you go. Rub it in a little bit. You know what I miss? I want to talk to you about something. And I'm being serious here. I don't want to sound old. I don't want to sound like I'm, I don't. But you know what I miss? I mean, one of the glorious parts of growing up. Did it as an adult, too, a little bit. I miss walking into Karma Records in Indianapolis. That's what I miss doing. Going to Karma Records in Indianapolis and walking into the store. I miss it. It was an event every time that I did it. Going to Karma Records. If you're from Indianapolis, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Peaches. That came later, and Peaches was okay. It was an okay thing. But Karma Records, the OG record store, Karma Records. I miss walking into it because the second that you did, you smelled that incense burning. There was a sense of breaking the law. There was something about it, and especially at that age, walking in and smelling the incense burning and the rock and roll going on. Your parents weren't there. You're with your friends. You had the rock and roll, which for some reason, it's playing loud in there. But it sounded better inside of Karma Records than, and that's how they sold those records, because you would hear something playing in there loud. And he's, man, wow, it sounds so good. Take it home, and never quite sounded that good. But it did there. Everything sounded better in that store. I'm not kidding. Everything was better at Karma Records. You just walked in. And there was the dude with the Karma Records T-shirt with the long hair working behind the counter. They had the incense over in the corner. They had those wooden incense burners for sale. Remember those things that look like a long tongue? Where do you even get those these days, right? Well, anyway, the guy behind the counter who knew everything about music, the secret stuff. One time, this would have been like 1983, 83, 84, 83. I was in California in 84. So 83. Guy behind the counter loaned me the Queensryche demo tape. Right? I was like, dude, you got to hear this singer, man. This guy, man, Jeff Tate, pops in this demo tape. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, man, here, make a copy of it and bring this back. Gives me a copy of the Queensryche demo. I don't even know how he got it. It doesn't matter. Karma Records, right? And there was something about the knowledge and the things that went down in that store, and I always learned something. Right, Karma Records, North Post Road, Indianapolis, Indiana. Right? Is it still there? It's still there? That can't be the one, though. The one that I'm thinking about was Post Road. Man, maybe that is it. And 21st Street. That's 21 North Post Road. That was my store. That's where I got, thank you for that, Katya. That's where I got the Queensryche demo tape. And I got all of my concert tickets there. Right? And there was something else that I miss. And I've always tried to apply this as being an adult. Down in Panama, when I was down there, I had friends, and they were international. I had international friends. And when you make an international friend for the first time, because you're here in the United States and you're hanging out in your elementary school, high school, all of that stuff. These are These are people that you're growing up with, right? They're Americans. But when you make an international friend in another country, you find out something, that they're smart. And you, they know everything about everything. And when it comes down to music and musicians, they read everything on all the album covers and they read the books. They have the real knowledge, right? The real knowledge that me and my doofus American friends just didn't have. We didn't have it. You would go and you would discuss things with them, and they would know about the drummer that played in Foghat on the sessions that wasn't on the live album and didn't play, with the band, but they and what kind of shoes that he wore. They just had this crazy knowledge, right? And as I grew up, when I come back to Indianapolis, Karma Records, and I come back, what I had experienced down there with the international friends that I made, people from France and Canada and Africa, man, I had a friend, man, this kid that grew up and just comes over from Africa, could speak Swahili and all these crazy languages, white kid. Comes over and I had been taking Spanish classes in school, didn't get anywhere with it. This guy comes over from Africa in like 2 weeks, fluent Spanish. It was just amazing. Well, so anyway, so I come back to the States and I wanted to be that international person with knowledge. So I started to study and I started to look, and I wouldn't take everything on its face. I would get into it and it didn't matter. It could be music, it could be sports, it could be history. And that's what I tried to do, is get into the next layer of knowledge. And I wanted to be able to speak in the way that those international friends that I had made outside of this country, how they made me feel. I was just like, wow, comfort zone was perfect. So that's what we do here on Fade to Black. And I miss those days. I do. I miss those days. So that's why I do what I do, because I want to try to figure out how to get it all back. How do we get it all back? Well, you know what? We talk about it. We do it. I practice what I preach. And by talking about it and just making you aware of how I look at things, maybe you'll do the same just a little bit. Just a little bit. All right, let's get out of here. Tonight, Patrick Wood is here, and we're going to be doing Technocracy 2.0. And if you haven't listened to Coast to Coast from Sunday night, well, go and check it out, because we're going to continue that conversation, and it was amazing. Patrick Wood, the new book is Technocracy. It's been out for a little bit now. Technocracy Rising. There it is. And I'll be right back. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. We'll be right back after this short break with our guest, Patrick Wood. Stay with me.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights. just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Times are changing. The circus of politics, healthcare's low standards and high prices, and let's not forget food quality. What to do? Arm yourself with Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. In a world of chemical imbalance and poor air and water quality, it's time you make a move. Log on to getthetea.com and stock up on organic non-GMO supplements. Don't forget the tea. Cleansing your body never felt so good. And we have a brand new tea called Takedown Tea, which helps support healthy glucose. All natural body support so you can be at your best, naturally. All you have to do is log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. We're not a fad that comes and goes. We are the real deal. Join us and armor up. Getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Changing America's health one tea bag at a time.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find Fast Start Diet on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code TALK to get 10% off your first box. And as a special bonus, Fast Start will include their #1 rated Lipo3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. This is Jimmy Church, and whatever your diet plans are, do what I did. Go to faststartdiet.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Woo! What a week. What a week here on the show. Tonight, Patrick Wood, and I want to remind everybody, tomorrow night is open lines all night long. It is Fader night. Tracy Inaris is going to be here with Divine Frequency on the airways, followed by open lines all night long. Now, if you were with me this week over on Coast to Coast AM, I had on Sunday night, Patrick Wood was with me. And I got to the end, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I said, this conversation is just getting started. So I immediately said, Patrick, let's continue this. And he said, yes, let's do this. So tonight, Patrick Wood is here. He is a leading expert on historic and modern technocracy, the elitist Trilateral Commission, their policies and achievements in creating their self-proclaimed new international economic order, which is the essence of sustainable development on a global scale. An economist by education, a financial analyst and writer by profession, and an American constitutionalist by choice, Mr. Wood has a deep historical insights into the modern attacks on sovereignty, property rights, and personal freedom. He is the founder and executive director of Citizens for Free Speech, a tax-exempt organization to defend and promote the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. He's a frequent speaker and guest on radio shows around the nation, and his current research focuses on technocracy, transhumanism, and scientism, and how these are transforming global economics, politics, and religion today And, of course, his website is technocracy.news. I would like to welcome to Fade to Black for the first time, Patrick Wood.
I'm so glad to be here. I thank you for having me back on. It's just been a long time since we talked.
Did you recover?
I did recover just fine. It was a little foggy the next day, but I took an extra nap.
Yeah,
so okay.
I got to tell you, Patrick. I broadcast every night with Fade to Black, and then I go over and coast to coast on the weekends, and coast to coast for me, obviously, is 10 o'clock at night till 2 in the morning, and you do that 2 nights in a row, and then turn around and change the pattern of your day, and then get back into the swing. And I'm toast. I'm toast, and I feel bad for the guest. I'm acclimated to it. I know what's coming, but and you did 2.5 hours, man. Now, this is what I want. First things first, I've got to get the first time guest disclaimer out of the way. Okay, so here we go. Patrick, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends, and where the conversation starts, it starts, and where it ends, it ends. But we're going to end as friends. There you go. All right, you ready? Yeah, we've had that tradition going on the show now for 5 years, and if I miss it with a first time guest, then there's 2,000 tweets I've got to deal with, saying that I missed the disclaimer. Now, before we get into technocracy, and I'm calling the show 2.0 because we're going to continue with where we left off on Coast, of course, but the Coast audience is a big one. What kind of feedback did you get from the show? In that, do people understand technocracy? Or did you have technocracy experts saying that you were wrong or that you were right? Did you go back and kind of analyze the feedback?
Well, I did, and we had a lot of good feedback. All positive. Didn't have anything that was of a negative nature. Mm-hmm. And honestly, since my book was published, this last book, especially Technocracy Rising, was published about 3 years ago now, I haven't had one challenge on the information in my book, not one. And that's kind of surprising to me. I would have thought there'd be more, but I asked people in the book, point blank, if you take exception with something I've said, you contact me and we'll have a discussion. And if you prove me wrong, I'll correct it.
Hey, does that make you a little nervous, though, that you haven't had criticism? I usually think that if I don't have criticism, then I missed it somehow. Right?
Well, I get criticism from the people. They say you're known by your enemies, right? I get criticism from organizations like Google, who routinely shove me onto the second and third page of any search engine or any search that's done, and I know that they do it. They're doing this on purpose. So I'm hitting a nerve. There's no doubt with some of these technocrat organizations around the country. And I might add, Technocracy.news is the only website in the world right now that offers a critique on technocracy. And even though America has not been really up on this as much, the rest of the world is. And I've just got some statistics back a few weeks ago that confirmed to me that Technocracy.news has been read from every nation on this planet. It just shocked me. I mean, there's some little countries out there that you can't even pronounce their name, right?
Right.
And we've had 197 or 98 countries have weighed in on Technocracy.news. So somebody out there gets it, right? And I'm just responding to that. And again, the offer's out there. If anybody thinks I'm wrong, come on, bring it on, and we'll have a discussion.
Yeah, and what I was waiting for, and I got a couple of it's more like about a dozen. I got about a dozen emails, and I think I didn't chase them down, but that were saying I needed to have on some members of their organization to come on and respond to the information that you presented, that technocracy was a good thing, and it was a positive thing, and it was good for the environment, and it's good for distribution networks, and it's good for not only the economy, but salaries and payment systems, and that you and I got it all wrong, that I was, and I see that. That's not what I'm ever about, right? I'm not. I never have on a guest and then the next night have a counter. Or right. No, that's not. It's not even fun. So
I can tell you exactly who those people are. They are the technocrats that belong to the modern day Technocracy Inc. They're based up in Washington State, right up next to the border of Canada. And there's quite a few of them still around the country that are the diehard technocrats from the original iteration.
Right.
What we were talking about on Coast to Coast was if you will, a bastardization of the original technocracy movement when it was hijacked by the Rockefeller crowd in 1973 when Zbigniew Brzezinski and David Rockefeller formed the Trilateral Commission. There was no awareness at the time of the actual technocrats in that day from Technocracy Inc. of what was going on. I have talked with many of these people directly, asking them, does it bother them that their movement was hijacked by money bags, essentially?
Right.
And they say, oh, no, they didn't hijack it. No way. Nobody could hijack our ideas. And I give them the evidence and stuff, and there's just a denial. It's just like a brick wall. You can't talk to them. Say, dudes, you need to wake up and smell the roses here. If there was anything good about your original movement in its pure form, it has been hijacked by these people, and they're using it for their own nefarious gains. They're not doing what you intended to do in the first place, which is create utopia. They're promising utopia, but in the process, they're basically destroying the world with it. So, I feel sorry for these guys, honestly, because they're just kind of stuck in a time warp and they can't get out.
The Trilateral Commission, before we get to technocracy, that's actually a pretty good place to start. In our conspiracy circles, there are a few organizations that come up over and over again, and one of them is the Trilateral Commission, and how it was founded, who was behind it, what the reasons for it. You're a historian on this subject, so for our listeners right now, let's clear the air. What is the Trilateral Commission?
Well, absolutely, and by the way, myself and the late Anthony Sutton wrote the original books on the Trilateral Commission called Trilaterals over Washington.
Mm-hmm.
We produced actually 2 volumes of that book, and Sutton was a research fellow, most recently back then at Stanford University at the Hoover Institution for War, Peace, and Revolution. The guy was no slouch, and he got kicked out of Stanford just kind of unexpectedly, and it ruined his career. He was very upset about it. But he was starting to do research on the Trilateral Commission while he's still at Stanford. And he found out after the fact that the president of Stanford, David Packard at the time, of Hewlett-Packard fame, was a member of the Trilateral Commission himself, and they didn't want him pursuing that trail. So they basically drop-kicked him out of Hoover Institution, and I met up with him, and we made a partnership, started writing about the Trilateral Commission. And so this group was formed in 1973. And by the way, none of this is conspiracy, really. This is all well documented at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Started in 1973 by David Rockefeller and Zbigniew Brzezinski. That's a strange mix. Beauty and the Beast.
Right.
Brzezinski was an academic, a political scientist at Columbia University, and Rockefeller was Mr. Moneybags. He had Chase Manhattan Bank, and that was a family bank, and he had Standard Oil interest and stuff, and the guy was just filthy, stinking rich even back then. And together, they formed the Trilateral Commission. And they invited about 300 people, well, a little bit less than that, from around North America, Japan, and Europe. The elite of the elite, if they will. They got a lot of politicians, corporate directors, and CEOs of companies. They had media companies. They had legal companies. They had a broad mix of people. But the idea, what they said at the time was what they were going to do, they were going to foster a new international economic order. That's their exact term. They were going to promote interdependence among nations. There was no call for that, by the way. They just stood up and said, what we need to do is have interdependence among nations. And they said that they were going to promote free trade by dismantling tariffs and trade barriers around the world. That was their three main prongs, if you will, back then. And they put everything they had on it. This new international economic order, oddly enough, started showing up at the United Nations the next year in 1974. And remember that the UN has had significant Rockefeller money and support over the decades. And actually, the land that UN stands on today was donated to the UN by the Rockefeller family way back when. So they have a tight relationship. But in any case, in 1974, lo and behold, the United Nations passes a resolution 3201 that is titled Declaration on the Establishment of a New International Economic Order. What you go, what? Wait a minute.
Oh,
this
man.
phrase didn't exist before 1973.
Right.
And now we find out that they fed it to the UN almost right away. And we see a trail, breadcrumbs, if you will, going on from there on how the Trilateral Commission used the United Nations to rebrand technocracy into what the UN calls sustainable development. It's a resource-based economic system, very similar to what was cooked up in the 1930s at Columbia University. Oh, yeah. Columbia University was where technocracy was housed in 1932. That's where Zbigniew Brzezinski was when he wrote his book called Between Two Ages, America's Role in the Technotronic Era in 1970. Rockefeller saw that book, fell in love with that, and fell in love with the ideas, fell in love with Brzezinski, and said, come with me, we're going to make beautiful music together. And they did. And so we see the maturation of sustainable development through the 80s and into 1992 at the Rio Declaration that produced the Agenda 21 doctrine. And, the story just goes on. We see today people like, Christiana Figueres, when she was head of climate change at the UN, she made a proclamation and a press release, incredible. She said, this was like 2.5 years ago now, this is the first time in the history of mankind that we're setting ourselves about the task of intentionally, within a defined period of time, to change the economic development model that has been reigning for at least 150 years since the Industrial Revolution. It's a direct quote. Sustainable development is, of course, the replacement entity. But they see that sustainable development is altogether different. It's otherworldly, if you will, to what we know as free enterprise and capitalism. And they're intending to replace it outright. These are fighting words, in my opinion.
You see, this is the thing, though, Patrick. When if you have a conspiracy theory, you don't feed it. And when it comes to the Trilateral Commission and how technocracy got perverted perverted and changed, but it's who you surround yourself with. And when it comes to the Rockefeller family or the Bohemian Grove or the World Economic Forum or the World Bank or the Federal Reserve Council on Foreign Relations, right? Bilderbergs. It's a self-feeding conspiracy machine. It writes itself.
And I have to say they do it on purpose so that people will get carried away and carried into the conspiracy. In other words, make up stuff in addition to what they know.
Right.
They can see on paper.
Right.
This has been a tactic from day one. We were attacked back in the late 70s in the very same way. We were always positioned as being either the radical left or the radical right. They didn't care which one, but they positioned themselves in the moderate middle consistently. And so anybody that criticized them or wrote something that was authoritative, they immediately swept them left or right and always positioned themselves, left themselves positioned in the moderate middle. And they're still doing that today.
Now, why? Now let's do the segue into technocracy. What's the appeal for the Trilateral and Rockefeller out of technocracy in the original movement for him and the Trilateral Commission to move this agenda forward through, I just said agenda, right? Agenda 21, which we're going to get to, through the United Nations. What did they take from it, and what did they leave behind?
The main thing that I'll cut to the quick on this. The main thing that the trilateral types want, and remember, they represent the global corporations by and large. What they're after are the resources of the world. They're done fleecing the money out of the system with the Federal Reserve and stuff. Our dollar's worth like what, 1% of what it was in 1910, and there's nothing left really to fleece out of the people. And so they've made this move now to kind of forget money for a while and go after the resources of the world directly. In other words, all the land is where all the wealth comes from in the world. That's where the gold is. That's where the silver is. That's where the timber is, where the food, the water, every bit of wealth that was ever created in the world originally came from the earth, from the ground. They know that. They're going after the resources of the world. And you will see the United Nations setting up these wilderness areas, these heritage areas and stuff all over the world. You see our government cooperating with it in the last 30 years by having the BLM and the Forest Service and stuff buy up land. 36% of the land mass of the United States right now is in the hands of the federal government. This is unconstitutional, by the way, but that doesn't matter. That's the truth. They have been gobbling up resources like there is no tomorrow. And that means, for you and me, our formerly wonderful capitalism free enterprise system, which always supported private property, that's being turned upside down. They want to take private property away, and they want to control all the resources of the world. That's where this is going. And it's demonstrably true when you look at the United Nations' own writings. They start out with talking about, we're going to eliminate poverty, we're going to have jobs for all, everybody's going to have dignified housing, etc., the utopian promise, right? And then you get down to the details, down maybe about 2/3 of the way, and you find out all you have to do to get that is you have to give up the reins to all production and all consumption. Small little fine print at the bottom.
Small little fine print, because the very foundation, the very fabric of all that there is, going back to the beginnings of everything, is a family with a farm and owning a piece of property and being productive and contributing to society, capitalistic or not. It's not even the point. That's the foundation and the fabric of everything. That's what they're going after, right?
That's exactly right. And they, if they have the resources, it doesn't matter what the monetary system is, right?
Right.
You will survive, and you will be filthy, stinking rich no matter what. And I have to just point out too, the Rockefeller family had one of the most interesting histories of any family in America. Great granddaddy to David Rockefeller, John D. Rockefeller Sr., whatever, back in the late 1800s, he was a snake oil salesman, literally. He was a con man who traveled town to town. He made up what he called a cancer cure, and it was made up of oil. This oil, I guess they could just pick up off the ground. It was oil and a laxative mixed together. He called it snake oil, and he went from town to town selling it to people. And he would leave town immediately after selling it and go on to the next town.
Nice.
And, nobody ever caught up with him to hang him. They probably would have liked to, but he lived, he finally died at ripe old age. And this kind of mentality of doing this con game appears to have perpetuated through the family. And David Rockefeller was just a masterpiece of a con game. This whole business of promoting sustainable development to capture the resources and stuff is the biggest fraud, in my opinion, ever perpetrated on the human race. It is absolutely phony from the get-go. People don't see this, of course, by and large, because they make us sound so good.
Yeah, they sustainable. Let's live right. Let's have fair housing, and absolutely, they're painting that picture. They're using those trigger words.
That's right. Oh, let's have smart cities.
Yes.
Well, you don't want a dumb city.
Right.
Oh, you live in a dumb city?
Right.
Oh, one of them little rural towns out there with 5,000 people in it. Oh, those are so dumb. People are moving out of those towns. They're going to the big city where they can be smart and have a smart city. And by the way, there's about 1,800 cameras pointed at you with artificial intelligence reading your face as you walk around the city. No problem.
Right. Well, let's take a break right here. We're going to come back, and I want to now do a little meld over into Agenda 21, and we'll set the foundation for the rest of the night with this. These are subjects, Patrick, that they get talked about a lot. We certainly talked about this on Sunday. They get talked about a lot, but I think most don't actually understand what is really behind all of this. So when we come back, I'm going to jump over to Agenda 21 with Patrick Wood. I'm holding up the book right here to the camera. There it is, Technocracy Rising. Mine's autographed. I'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Patrick Wood. We're doing Technocracy 2.0. It's a continuation of our show that we did Sunday night over on Coast to Coast AM. You should go and check out that show, too, as well. And there's going to be some overlap, of course, but one of the things that we didn't get into on Sunday night's probably best that we didn't, was Agenda 21. Now, Patrick, when it was originally published, now I'm going to go back and I'm going to reach into my memory and say 1995, somebody sent it to me and I was able to have access to the original book, right? The original Agenda 21. It took me about a week to read through. And all I did was read between the lines. That's all I did through the whole thing. And when I got to the end of it, I thought to myself, this is the New World Order. This is the United Nations getting their toes and foothold into every community, because this is how they spell it out in the document. In every community of every country on this planet, down to the local government level, it doesn't matter what size of the town or city that we're talking about. That's what I got from it. And I don't want to spin it the wrong way. I know that I'm right, though. Okay, so what is Agenda 21? Oh, Patrick, are you there? Oh, don't tell me we lost Patrick.
All right, nope, they didn't lose me. I'm sorry, I was on my cough button.
Oh, yeah.
Agenda 21 is the agenda for the 21st century, and we're in the 21st century right now. It was just that simple. They made this plan that this is the way that they were going to execute or initiate or whatever in the century that we're in right now. And of course, there's been more added to it. They've clarified their plans a little bit, but I've got this big orange book in my hand right now. It says Earth Summit Agenda 21. This was the official book that was produced. And people say it's a myth. You know, you go to city planners today, oh, that's a myth. Yeah, that doesn't even exist. I'd say, excuse me, look at this book. It has a UN symbol right on the bottom of it, published by the United Nations. It says Agenda 21 on it, and it's 250 pages long. May I hit you with this myth and tell me if it hurts?
Right.
You know, okay, it ain't no myth. There it is. It's right there, black and white. But here's the thing. What it was a plan to twist the resources away from people and nations into the hands of the United Nations and indirectly into the hands of the corporate, if you will, the robber barons that have been raping the world for decades already. This side of the story doesn't come out much, but I'll tell you, I've discovered some stuff that kind of helps us cut to the chase on it. During it was called the Earth Summit in 1992. During the Earth Summit, there were some youth representatives that were specifically allowed to participate, to be in with all the meetings and stuff. And they were invited to give their impressions of the process and the proceedings right at the end of the meeting, right? Agenda 21. They did it as a courtesy to kids, who knows what. One young lady got up from Kenya. She's a native of Kenya. And she was there. This was called she was part of the International Youth Environment and Development Network. Okay, that's a mouthful. And that's a long time ago, of course, now. She'd be a full-grown, middle-aged woman at least now. And she gave up and gave her impression of the proceedings. And I'll tell you what, it is shocking. She said, and this, just a direct quote, she said, "It has made them victims of a market economy that has thus far threatened our planet. Amid elaborate cocktails, travailing, and partying, few negotiators realized how critical their decisions are to our generation by failing to address such fundamental issues as militarism, regulation of transnational corporations, democratization of the international aid agencies, and inequitable terms of trade." She said, "My generation has been damned." Wow. The people that heard her say that were just stunned. But she called it like she saw it, and she's absolutely right. The whole thing was a sham that was set up to promote more of the same stuff that had been happening for decades prior to that, that the poor people, and especially in the South, had been complaining about for decades.
I remember reading verbiage that said, in a very direct sense, that the distribution of this book needs to be implemented at the very foundation of all communities, at every level. All local governments need to subscribe and adhere to this. On every country, every member of the United Nations, of every town and city in the world. And
that's what they've done.
Yeah, and now the United States, believe it or not, this audience needs to understand that the United States has fully attempted to adopt Agenda 21. The number 2 country, Australia. Mm-hmm. Australia, and we have a very large Australian audience, very large, and they're probably reacting right now on Twitter as I say this. Awesome. Agenda 21, 88 of its municipalities subscribe to Agenda 21, second only to that of the United States, and I'm looking at it right here.
Right. You're absolutely right.
Incredible.
It is, and the interesting thing about how it was implemented in our country and why many people, many leaders, civic leaders, still think it's a myth that that it doesn't exist. I have an actual videotape of one of the movers and shakers of Agenda 21 back in the 1993, and they already knew in America by that time that there was going to be trouble with Americans using the name Agenda 21 and promoting it that way. And they said, just as a marketing thing, they said, we need to not use Agenda 21 in America. We need to call it smart growth.
Somebody brought this up over on Coast. I want your reaction to this. Actually, it was brought up a few times, and now somebody else just brought it up. Does the legalization of pot have anything to do with the control of technocracy or Agenda 21?
Well, I can't say directly that it does, but it's certainly indirectly it does, because the more docile and mind-numbed that people are, the easier it is for them to get their work done. I don't know. Other than saying that, I just don't have a clue.
Okay. Well,
it's not good. I mean, education has been hammered too. We all know that.
Sure.
Education has been dumbed down on purpose so that, people are just ignorant of all this stuff. Kids can't think critically anymore to figure this stuff out.
Now, with Agenda 21, and I get the whole NWO New World Order vibe from it. That's the way it hits me in the face. Is there anything that would indirectly or directly apply to armed forces?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, Eisenhower warned us in his famous farewell speech about the military-industrial complex getting too powerful and taking too much power. If you listen to the rest of his speech, that's what always gets quoted. Oh, it's the military-industrial complex. If you listen to the rest of the speech that he gives, he launches into talking about essentially the technocrats of that day, the people, the engineers and the scientists that wanted to take over society. And he said, you got to watch these guys. Don't let them get too much power. He saw it coming way back then. But the military-industrial establishment has grown very, very cozy with this whole Trilateral Commission, hegemony on the United Nations, et cetera, et cetera. And they're very much stacked with technocrats. So you look at organizations like DARPA, for instance. It's a pure technocratic organization. You look at some of the other research projects and stuff that are going on, and you just shake your head. Say this isn't traditional military anymore. They've gone way beyond it.
Is it the other parts of it when we talk about this, like artificial intelligence and the way that DARPA and Sandia are approaching all of this?
Absolutely. And of course, they didn't know the science of AI back 50 years ago.
Right.
But these original people that started out in 1932, they rubbed shoulders at Columbia University. They were housed as a temporary project in the basement of Hamilton Hall. They had half the basement to themselves. The other half of the basement was occupied by IBM. That's where they built the original tabulator, that their first computer. That was the same tabulator that got sent over to Nazi Germany, by the way, to manage all the trains and schedules and statistical analysis and all that kind of stuff. They rubbed shoulders with these brainiacs, right, that were there. They understood that technology was going to increase by leaps and bounds, and they could only dream what it would be one day. But as these things have come along, as AI has come along, every major advancement like that, you will note, even though there's some good uses for some of this stuff, but you will note that it's immediately grabbed and hijacked, if you will, at least commandeered for their own purposes. For instance, do you have to use artificial intelligence for bioidentical information from cameras? No. Do you have to use it to build a massive nationwide, biometric database on every citizen in America just because the technology exists? Is there a mandate to do that? No. You see, the people are using the technology for their own advantage, and they're extending their own scientific dictatorship, if you will, because of the new technology that's coming along. It allows them to do it. I think they saw this coming decades ago.
Well, everybody warned us about it. And see, the thing is, the winner of the AI race, the one that gets there first, the real stuff, the one that gets there first, everybody else has lost. And I mean, right. For economies, military, global control, the second that is truly achieved, the global dominance is right there in a scary way. The problem is the repercussions and what nobody knows. Nobody can predict the future. But that's the goal here. There's no way. All of the warnings, right? We've been fully aware and awakened and warned. There's no doubt about it. But you're not going to stop the development of it. There's just no way. There's too much to be gained for those technocrats out there. They need to get AI, and they need to be first. If we're not first and somebody else is first, and what they would do with that technology. It's a scary spot that we find ourselves in, Patrick.
It is. And China, by the way, is in the lead right now with artificial intelligence. And I will say, this would be a shock to many listeners, China is a technocracy, not a communist dictatorship anymore. People still look at the communist flag. Oh my gosh, they're the Chi-Coms. They have been converted into a full-blown technocracy for at least 20 years. This was recognized, by the way, by Time Magazine, of all places, back in 2002. China is run by scientists and engineers, and they're engineering their society with technology as fast as they can. And we could probably do a program just on what China is doing, but they're doing some very bad things with technology, I have to say. And they're exporting it now to the rest of the world. Basically, anybody that will take it, they will sell it to them.
It's funny. It's funny that you say that, because when we first found out, it was probably 5 years ago, that China now had data on every single U.S. citizen, right? Right? They accumulated all the data. They know who you are. They know where you live. They know what you're doing. Nobody reacted to that. No. We freak out on Facebook today, and rightly so. But China, just like you just said, China's been on the front of this way longer than everybody else.
Exactly. And, the phenomena that you describe here is interesting, why people haven't reacted. I personally believe that we're living in that day that was spoken of by the global dreamers, Alvin and Heidi Toffler, back in the late 60s. They wrote a book called Future Shock, and how it was going to be when technology raced forward at such a rate that people could no longer keep up with it mentally, and they just disconnect altogether from reality. I think we're at that point, because you tell people about what's going on in China, and they look at you and they go, well, they kind of understand, and then they go, yeah, right. That it's like there's just no reaction. It's like the little piece of their brain just like snapped like a rubber band or something, and it went in one ear and out the other. I see that kind of reaction all the time.
Well, when we get to the bottom of the hour, when we come back, we'll discuss what technocracy is, and we're going to get into that. But the technology today has gotten so complex that nobody knows it all. There isn't a depository of information or direction. That's why we had the collapse that we did in 2008 of the economy and the mortgage system, because nobody understood Wall Street. Nobody understood mortgages. Nobody understood the bankage. It's so complex. Nobody understood trading and options and nobody. And that is just that segment. When we look at satellite TV or the complexities of what is involved in that system, or distribution networks, or the electrical grid, it has gotten so complex and so crazy that we don't even understand our own technology today. It's one of the scariest parts about all of it to me.
That's right. Nobody understands it end to end. Everybody, there's experts that understand little pieces of it along the way, but when you piece it all together like a big erector set or whatever, it doesn't work right. It goes spring, and the little Ferris wheel doesn't go around like you thought it would.
Right.
And that's why we're seeing so many disjointed things in technology today. And we should make a disclaimer. I think, by the way, that at least I'll speak for me. I am not anti-science at all. I am not anti-engineers. I'm not anti-scientists at all. I know scientists. I know engineers. They're great people. Not every engineer and scientist wants to take over the world, right? Mm-hmm. They're not all bent to collect data on everybody for the sake of controlling the people that they're collecting the data on. It's a very relatively narrow set of people who have taken off on this tangent to misuse science. It isn't real science, believe me, but they're misusing science to subjugate mankind. This is not all engineers and scientists. And I have to say to those that are listening tonight, if that's you, if you're one of the good guys, you need to get off your dead keister and go out and challenge your peers to get off their high horse and quit thinking that they're God and that they can play God with everybody else. they're the ones really that should be cleaning up their own corral manure, if you will, right?
Well, if you look at how it has spun out of control, I remember back in the day when I was watching documentaries on Microsoft as Windows 1995, right? Windows 95 is coming out, the internet and AOL 1.0 and how things, and Facebook, which was, again, developed in a college somewhere to go and meet women, right? Yeah. And how these things are maybe global vision of the future where people dream, but they're not intended for that. And I don't think Microsoft understood and what it has grown into today. I think all of that is by accident. The growth has been incredible, and nobody's been able to control it, and nobody understands its implications. And that's really the truth. Right. Yes.
That's exactly right. And people like the David Rockefellers of the world, they would eat the young Mark Zuckerbergs alive. The wet behind the ears kids working in a dorm room to create this kind of stuff. They had no concept of who was really pulling the strings back then. But you will notice today that these big tech companies have been co-opted by the same global elite that started this out in the first place. Eric Schmidt, for instance, the ex-CEO of Google, he's now the head of Alphabet, the parent company of Google. Huge, sprawling industry at this point. Eric Schmidt has been a member of the Trilateral Commission now for several years. He's joined the club. But you see, back when he first started all this stuff, like when he was a young guy in 1995, oh my gosh, David Rockefeller could buy and sell people like him 1,000 times a day and not even blink.
Right. And I sit in this beautiful studio, and I'm looking at the technology that is here in front of me, all of these monitors and all of these computers and the lights, and it's an insane amount of technology. I love technology, and you and I are able to communicate. We're states away from each other. Right, but
absolutely. Yeah. I wish I could see your studio. It gives me goosebumps just thinking about it.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. There's tons of pictures posted. You can see. I love technology. I really do. Yeah. But and being able to communicate about it. It's the other part which scares me, and it's the control. The other part. Yes. That really frightens me is the ability now to change people's minds in 1900, in 1950, right, 50 short years ago. You walked around with flyers in the street. And so to change minds, it took months. And then if it took hold in your community and went possibly statewide, it took a year. It took a while. Today, it takes a nanosecond, and you can affect the entire globe at an instant. That's the part that I don't like. And it's good if it's for positive, but if you want to go negative with it, that's a bad tool for bad people.
It is. Definitely is. And we're finding that, too, even we talk about artificial intelligence being some sort of an independent thing. Other data scientists that have their heads screwed on right have been studying artificial intelligence programs that are doing big things today. And one thing they found is that all of the prejudices and biases that existed in the programmers are almost miraculously translated into their programs that they write.
How could it not? It's a
subconscious thing. They don't do it on purpose. It just happens.
Right. And so now... I want to ask you about that really quick before the break. Some of the bots that were created in Twitter ended up going from Mr. and Mrs. Nice Guy to foul-mouthed sailors that were ready to kill people.
I know. Jeez. That's case in point. They can't hide it. The image of the creator is always somehow impressed on his creations. That you just say that. That's true with God himself. If God was a creator, we're we're struck in his image, says the Bible, right? We are created in his image. Well, this is kind of a truism. You could roll over on any of this stuff. If you're creating stuff, you put yourself into it. Whether you know it or not, you put yourself into it.
Today,
and so we see these bots coming out, or these AI programs coming out with racism all of a sudden popping out, with gender gender discrimination. Just all kinds of weird little biases that only exist in humans, but somehow they come through in the AI programs too.
And the ability to affect emotions today and you don't even know who you're fighting with, right? And these bots, it could be even just a sock puppet, it could be a real, but only there to affect you. And you don't even know, and you're arguing with something that quite possibly isn't even real, right? But they figured that part out. It is Huxley. It is 1984. It's everything that we had been warned about, and we are living it now. And I don't know how to turn the wheels back. I wish that we could.
Yeah, I will say again. I think we said this on the Coast to Coast program that in 1932, the same year that Technocracy was at Columbia University, there was a book written out of England by Aldous Huxley. We all know the book. It was Brave New World. And he was looking at technocracy when he wrote that book. It's where he got the idea from, these people, and from the president of Columbia University. Made a great book. He didn't know he was going to sell 8 gajillion copies of it, and then it was going to be part of the English language, by 2018, which it is now. Oh, it's a brave new world. Everybody says it. But they don't realize that this all came from technocracy in the very beginning. Yeah, it's a brave new world. It's a different world. And his book proposed a scientific dictatorship. Everything was micromanaged. You could not move out of the channel that you were predestined for.
Even if you wanted to.
Even if you wanted to.
No matter what your emotions wanted to, whatever would make you happy, you didn't have a choice, and you were stuck.
No, it didn't. It didn't. And in his world, in Brave New World, if you didn't comply, you had to take Soma. You took the drug.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Let's take a break right here. Let's do some Soma. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Patrick Wood, Technocracy 2.0. When we come back after the break, let's get to the definition of technocracy. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. And last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously. Go Beckley Tappy. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products, available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Patrick Wood. Technocracy 2.0. It's a continuation of our discussion from Sunday night over at Coast to Coast. It was an amazing conversation, and you should go and after tonight, if you didn't listen to Coast, go back and check that out. But here we are, Technocracy. And one of the things that I had pointed out on Sunday, Patrick, which it's a very simple thing. It's that technocracy, the word freaks people out. They don't necessarily understand it, and they use it probably, well, in a negative way, but not fully understanding what it is. So let's start there. What is technocracy?
Well, maybe I should, I definitely should give the definition that the technocrats themselves gave back in 1938 in the Technocrat magazine. This is what they said. This is good today, just as it was then. Technocracy is the science of social engineering. There's your first clue. The scientific operation of the entire, that is, no person left behind, social mechanism, that's our country or the world, to produce and distribute goods and services to the entire population. There's your economic angle, right? Social engineering, number one, the scientific operation of all of society. It's like a machine. The purpose of the machine is to produce and distribute goods and services to the entire population. That's it. That's just, in the simple words, that's it.
Now, my same reaction is the same. My same reaction is the same. My reaction is the same as it was Sunday night. That smells like utopia. And utopia always fails.
I know, it always does. And it always will. That's the con job of the whole thing. They promise utopia. They don't have a prayer of a chance of ever delivering on it. In fact, it's just the opposite. It's all, like I said in the beginning, it's a con. Let me tell you how the United Nations defines green economy. That's another synonym that they throw in on top of sustainable development. They call it the green economy now. Well, everybody likes green. Yay, green. I love my grass. I love green. This is how UNEP the UN Environmental Program defines a green economy. This just hold on to your brain. This is going to hurt.
Flying mission. Drop a bomb.
A green economy implies the decoupling of resource use and environmental impacts from economic growth.
Impossible.
These investments, both public and private, provide the mechanism for the reconfiguration of businesses, infrastructure, and institutions, and for the adoption of sustainable consumption and production processes.
Impossible.
Is your mind doing a fizzle?
Impossible.
It is impossible. This is nuts. You can't separate resource usage from economic growth. What kind of double talk is this that anybody would even give it a second look? Yet, this is the mentality that they have as they sell sustainable development to the whole world. And all the nations of the world have signed on to this. It's crazy. Talk about a bunch of lemmings going over a cliff together.
See, this is the bizarro, the Superman bizarro world version of this. Yeah. I appreciate, purchase, and support organic food, right? I absolutely do. I am freaked out on GMOs. I am freaked out to the point where there is no way that Mother Earth, Gaia, this beautiful planet that we live on, would want GMOs. It's an incorrect thing. I don't know the effects of feeding our children GMO corn and wheat and food and whatever, what the effects are going to be in 100 years, right? Are they going to start growing a third arm? Oh, we shouldn't have GMO. I don't know. So I don't, but with what you just read to me, it says to me that altering everything. Yeah. This is what is weird is the way forward. You can't have it both ways. You can't have Monsanto controlling GMOs, controlling the seeds that go in the ground, control the pesticides, and no, you can't. It doesn't work that way. And that's what they're speaking out of both sides of their mouth as they make that statement.
They are, and that's why that young lady from Nairobi essentially concluded, "You have damned our generation." She saw through it. I mean, isn't it true? Young people can see hypocrisy a mile off. They don't have to be sophisticated, right? Have PhDs and all that kind of stuff. Young people can spot stuff in adults that adults can't spot themselves. And this young lady, my guess is she couldn't have been probably over 17 or 18 years old. She got up after having mixed it up with all these people for the many weeks that whole thing took place, and she says, "Now you've really done it. You said you're going to do one thing. Basically, what you've done, you've damned my generation."
So, okay, let's take a look at the utopia aspect of this, which some are going to say it's communist or socialistic or whatever. But with the problem that I have with this Agenda 21, technocracy, and moving forward in the Trilateral Commission, all of these aspects of this, a uniform salary and wage, and you don't even have to work, we'll still pay you. Whatever this aspect is that creativity goes out the window. What's the incentive for getting up in the morning? There is something to be said with that anybody in the United States can become president, right? There's something about, whatever you want to do, go and do it. You want to have a gas station, go and do it. You want to have a supermarket, go and do it. You want to create a website, go and do it. You want to have a band, go and do it. You want to be a painter, go and whatever it is, go and do it, and you can be successful. And that is the drive of creativity, of moving forward, of invention, right? And if we go the other route, then why do anything? And right? Am I being too cavalier about this?
Not at all. There has been a social engineering experiment well over 100 years old now in America that proves your point exactly. It's called the Bureau of Indian Affairs, BIA. And you look at, and I'm sorry if there's any American Indians listening to this, just listen to me. You need to get off, you need to get off the reservation and get out before they completely destroy you. But what's happened, the Indians have been cared for cradle to grave by the government, by the federal government, basically just given money to live. And they've had plenty of money to live. They've had some places have had oil and gas resources. They distribute that to all the people, whether they work for it or not. Now they have casinos. They get the income off the casinos and stuff, whether they work for it or not. And you go to virtually any Indian reservation in America today, you will find poverty, in many cases squalor. You'll find alcoholism, huge problems with drugs and everything else. And this is sad. In my mind, this is absolutely horrific on the results of a kept society. We don't want that. We just don't. This is not humane. It's anti-human, really. It's not good for anybody to fall into this stuff. Even if they could deliver utopia, we don't want it.
Now, is there too much control now with somebody like Jeff Bezos or a Zuckerberg, where the control that they have, which is a ginormous amount, we don't understand the control. It's never been like this before. We're not talking about a monarchy in Spain or Great Britain. We're not talking about that. We're talking about some real control here. Is it too much for somebody like Bezos and Amazon or Zuckerberg and Facebook and Google and Chrome and YouTube and Twitter, these global economies now that involve virtually and reach out and touch every single person on this planet? Is it too much?
Well, it's too much for my mind to hardly conceive it, but it's happening, and you see collusion taking place between these companies. It would be bad enough if we just had to deal with Bezos as Bezos and Amazon as Amazon, but we're not. We're dealing with a whole cadre of companies that have super wealth. They got it through technology. In some cases, just fell into it, like Zuckerberg. They fell into it. It just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and now he's one of the richest people on the planet. It doesn't mean he has half a brain to do anything for the planet. He just fell into this money. But now, because of their narrow utopian view of the world, they're beginning to collaborate together to freeze out all opinion that doesn't suit their narrow vision. And you see Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Google and other social media platforms acting in concert, and some of the other companies like Stripe and MasterCard, and they're cutting off finances and stuff, and Amazon themselves are into censorship. You see them working together to weed out certain people and certain views that they don't agree with. PayPal. And it's not just conservative views that they're weeding out, by the way. I have to say that. It's not, conservatives are howling because they're getting their videos are being, taken off of YouTube or whatever. But believe me, it isn't just conservatives. They're getting censored. Anybody that disagrees with their culture, with their narrow view of utopia, is their enemy. They're against the whole world, basically, if that's what it takes. They are right. Everybody else is wrong.
Is there anybody that, and I mean this too, I'm not in any way joking by this statement. Is there anybody that scares Google? Right? Is there anybody that scares Facebook? Is there any, and I'm not kidding about that.
I'll tell you, there's one thing.
What?
Congress.
How so?
They hate Congress. They hate the politicians.
Well, they may hate it, but are they scared of Congress? Is there anything that Congress could do to a Google or to Facebook, to Amazon?
If they ever got a spine, if Congress, I don't know that's ever going to happen. But if the Senate and or the House ever got a spine and stood up to these companies, they could immediately invoke antitrust regulations, which are already on the books, to bust the, slow these people down, to bust them up, at least start investigations, into some of the more obvious stuff like collusion to suppress speech. The First Amendment in this country protects our right to free speech. Yet these companies are abusing the very system and the very, Constitution that we're trying to preserve. They're using it to destroy it. Just go figure.
Well, you go back to Bell Telephone, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had to hit my cough button. Oh. I worked for Bell Laboratories when the breakup happened, okay?
Yeah.
And so we went from Bell Laboratories, I forget what they called it after that, Lucent Technologies, and broke it up again. And we had Bell Telephone, which nobody thought that would happen. It did, and they broke it up into all of the little companies that's where Pacific Bell came from. Before that, it was just one big company. And that's where Taco Bell came from. No, it's a joke. It's a bad joke. It's a bad joke. But it got broken up. Could the same thing happen to Facebook, where Facebook gets busted up into 10 separate Facebooks so they don't have the global dominance, that there would be 10 Googles and you know what I mean? And separate YouTube down into an Amazon. Amazon now is the global distribution network of everything, right? Everything. Right. I thought Costco had some dominance, right? But anyway, is that possible? Could something like that happen?
It could. It absolutely could happen. We see rumblings of that in Europe right now. The Europe nations are after Mark Zuckerberg in particular. I just posted a story today about world leaders just about ready to issue subpoenas on Mark Zuckerberg to come and testify. They want him to come and testify about, what all this fake news stuff that, and collusion with the Russians and leaking data and everything else. They want to hold him accountable. And you know what Zuckerberg is doing? He's just ignoring him.
And back to my point, Patrick, does he care? Does he care? Is he literally thumbing his nose?
Well, let me give you some historical insight on how technocrats feel about politicians. Back in the 1930s, when FDR was elected, and just before he was actually inaugurated, the Technocracy produced a book. I forget the exact name of the book, but a short little book, a little hardback book. It's rare now. I happen to have a copy of it. And in this book, this technocrat pleads with Roosevelt to declare himself dictator so that he could summarily implement technocracy in America. And he said in the process, you need to dismiss Congress altogether, send them home, and create a hierarchy of management, much like a corporation, like an org chart, staff it with scientists and engineers and technicians, and let them run the country. They wanted to get rid of the entire political process. Just send them all home. They're useless. Now, this same mentality exists today. In fact, I've got another little book in my hand right now called Technocracy in America, written 2 years ago by Dr. Parag Khanna from Singapore. He happens to be educated up here, and I think maybe he's an American citizen, but he's signed down in Singapore to a university. He wrote this book, Technocracy in America, says essentially the same thing. We need to dismiss the Senate, he says. We need to remove the office of the president altogether, and we need to have an office of committee, co-presidents, like they do in China. Oh, really? And he says, we need to give the Constitution to the Supreme Court for modification. Yeah. I mean, it's like, okay, that's just about as radical as it was in 1932, 33. But these claims and these demands are so big, people just can't wrap. Why would he say something like this? The global elite loves this guy. He's one of their heroes right now. Young, good-looking, articulate, very bright. I look at him almost as bright as a young Zbigniew Brzezinski at this point. They love this guy. And he writes a book and he says, America's problem is it needs more technocracy. And lots of it.
What is the answer in that book? What are the solutions to infrastructure, the roads, the water systems, electricity, importing, exporting, the ports, the regulation of, some regulation is a good thing. There is some pretty good regulation out there when it comes to our health and our defenses and poisons and looking out for us too as well. So there are some regulations. I'm not for all of it, of course not. But in a technocracy type of world, who controls that?
They do, and I have to say that infrastructure is the prime order of things for technocrats. Infrastructure is what you build supply chain with. When you and I say infrastructure, we think of Interstate 40 or something. It's just got a nice new top and the bridges have been repaired or whatever. That's infrastructure to us, not to technocrats. That's part of it, but to the technocrat world, infrastructure includes ports and trains and airplanes and all those kinds of things to move goods around with the supply chain, according to the supply chain technology that they have, so that they can minimize inventory and maximize efficiency with the stuff that they make. This is their god. This is supply chain, and infrastructure is key. You see infrastructure all over the writings. You also see infrastructure all over the United Nations writings. And it's like, wow, these guys, there's something going on here. This Parag Khanna guy wrote a book called Connectography about connecting global cities together, supply chain. And he wrote in this book, I got to this and I dropped my teeth. I just looked at it for about 5 minutes thinking, this guy has just let the big whatever slip come out of the bag. He says, we're building the global society without a global leader. Global order is no longer something that can be dictated or controlled from the top down. Globalization is itself the order. I've been studying globalization for over 40 years. I've never really addressed that thought. But globalization itself is becoming the order unto itself, where all the rules of technocracy are on the table, like supply chain issues and stuff. That's one of the big things they want to capture completely. In fact, they've got control of it right now. Our Secretary of Transportation is Elaine Chao. Elaine Chao's father owns Foremost Shipping. He's Chinese. And he's very cozy with the Chinese government. And he owns one of the largest shipping container companies in the world. And his daughter is, his first daughter is Secretary of Transportation in the United States. His other daughter is a board director of the Bank of China, the largest bank in the world, and a Chinese bank company that is associated with the government over there. In other words, they have their hand on the throttle for infrastructure right now. And it's not what you and I think it should be. We think in terms of, hey, how about we fix the bridges out there that are falling down? They really are in disrepair. How about fixing some of the freeways and some of the streets that got potholes that sink little cars into them? And we need all those things done. But to them, they're out busy reworking the port system and reworking the rail lines and all the automated transfers and stuff of container ships being, sent all over the world for, with their cargo. It's like they have a whole different agenda than what you and I might have when we say, transportation. The infrastructure should be rebuilt in America.
Is Bezos a technocrat?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
If would he call himself a technocrat?
I doubt it. I don't think he'd want the label.
And which is where I think you know where I'm going with this.
But I know, but I shouldn't really say that. I don't know what he would do, honestly. Maybe he would be proud of it and say, yeah, I'm a technocrat. But I can look at what he does, and I can look at how he thinks, because you can see what he thinks in his decisions he makes and stuff. He is acting and behaving exactly like a technocrat. And, you fall back to, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
What would happen? What would happen if they got their wish? What if we woke up tomorrow, Senate's gone, right? Congress is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, what would happen if technocracy did start to take hold? Well, it has, but not in its truest form. But if it took hold, wouldn't it take years and years and years of movement? It just couldn't happen overnight. We would collapse.
Well, there's a lot of thought that been put into the value of an economic reset to the technocrats right now, and there might be. I think there's probably a case to say there's at least a moral hazard that an economic reset would help their cause, not kill it. And yes, Bezos would lose money temporarily, but he would come out of the ashes basically owning all the chips. But let's look at how Bezos runs his company. Just consider this. Let's say he was president all of a sudden. Somehow he was a head engineer or the head technocrat over America and appointing all of his underlings to manage different areas of society.
Right.
Okay, his employees, and this is all publicly documented in articles and stuff, his employees in some warehouses are so pressed down by the pressure of micromanagement that one investigator was shocked to find bottles on a shelf, one of the warehouse shelves, filled with urine. And he thought, what the heck is this? Can you imagine thinking that somebody left a bottle of beer here or something, and you smell it? Right. You go, oh my gosh, it's urine. Well, some of the people are so pressed and afraid of punishment that they don't take the time to go to the bathroom.
Right.
And they just pee in a bottle and put it on a shelf and they walk away. They're the most micromanaged people that you can imagine. Every single movement is measured, monitored, and when they bought Whole Foods, which used to be our champion of organic food, they bought Whole Foods. A couple of years ago now, the people in Whole Foods, the staff in Whole Foods, was reported to literally be in tears over the micromanagement of their jobs. They were written up on the silliest little things that basically were efficiency issues, but they'd get written up, 3 strikes, you're out. And they lived in fear of losing their job every single day. Is this the way? Is this the man you want to run the country? I don't think so. Foxconn, the big Chinese assembly company that does most of Apple's phones, their biggest problem in China is suicide. They've taken hits on this for years, and they're back in the news right now. Again, they're dealing with a high suicide rate because their assembly plants are absolute sweatshops. They squeeze those poor people for everything they could squeeze out of them, like cattle in a feedlot. And people can't take that kind of pressure, and they start killing themselves. As an anecdote, by the way, the head of Foxconn was overheard at a party. This is about 4 years ago when they had another deal with suicide going on. Because Apple, people are sensitive about Apple. People that love Apple are like little kind of crazy anyway. But Foxconn was having a big problem several years ago with this, and the CEO of Foxconn was overheard at a party, proudly telling another person that he was going to deal definitively with the suicide. He was going to get to the bottom of the suicide issue and make sure that his employees don't commit suicide. Well, that's a noble thing. You know who he hired? This was the shock of the article. He hired the curator of Beijing Zoo because he knows how to control the animals and keep them in line in the cages. It's like, are you kidding me? This guy has no. Is he human?
I just got a tweet that came in. We got to take a break right here. It says the suicides were so bad they had suicide nets around the building.
Yes.
Wow.
You're right.
Wow, that's incredible.
Welcome to Utopia.
Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, Patrick Wood. This is truly Technocracy 2.0. It's an extension of our conversation from Sunday night over at Coast to Coast AM. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Patrick after this short break. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com. Dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Teppy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Patrick Wood, talking about technocracy. Yeah, we've spun out of control. We've spun out of control. Too much power. And I don't know what to do about it, but it's not all doom and gloom, is it, Patrick?
As long as there's still a ray of light, there's hope.
I need that ray of light. So does everybody else listening right now. Because, look, see, this is what is important. I'm watching Twitter. We are on a network of connected computers. They are listening on the internet, on their cell phones, on their iPads, on their computers. They get it. They understand technology and how it got us here, right? So we don't want to give that part up. But they need that ray of hope, too. What is it exactly that we're talking about?
Well, this is just my opinion at this point, I suppose, and what I am doing personally. I became so alarmed this last year about the collusion going on with big tech and all the censorship issues going on that I saw a need to create a new organization called Citizens for Free Speech. And this has to turn into a movement. I'm not interested in any projects, but I created this as a tax-exempt organization. I'm giving it back to America, essentially, to make of it what they would make of it. But we have the right in this country still to free speech, to free press, to free assembly, peaceable assembly, I might add. And we have the right to redress our government for grievances. We have the right to the expression of religion as well. All that's contained in the First Amendment. But the First Amendment was written by the founders not to be a static piece of just text, just ink on a page. It was written to be a living document. And action is all the way through the First Amendment. You have to exercise religion. You have to speak to have freedom of speech. You have to write to have freedom of the press. You have to assemble if you're going to have the right to assemble. And you have to actually petition the government to redress your grievances if you're going to do that. It's not passive at all. It's all action-oriented. And when I began to see this and how our nation has been subverted by all this Agenda 21 sustainable development garbage, their motto for all these years has been think global, act local. I'm sure you've heard that. Mm-hmm. Think global, act local. And that's what they have done to us. But you know what? We did not answer them. When they acted locally, nobody with a straight mind went out and said, hey, what are you doing here? I want to look at this a little more. And kind of question what they were doing. Nobody has resisted them so far. If you work that thought backwards now, that means that we may be late to the party, but we can think global and act local as well, because that's where we need to start cleaning up our house. If it's going to be cleaned up at all, we need to start with our local communities and drive this nonsense out and just reject it. America rejected technocracy by the end of the 1940s completely. There were just a ragtag bunch of people that were still adhering to it at that point. And America had basically told them, we were in love with you once upon a time. There was 500,000 card-carrying, dues-paying technocrats running around America at one time in the 30s. And there's a lot more that were just enamored with it. They all fell out of love. By the end of the 40s, said, I see through it. We're not going to do that. And they took it on the chin. We need to do this again in America. First, people do need to wake up and get clued into what's really going on, but then they need to get out into the local communities and start mixing it up, actually meeting people. Get off social media, for Pete's sake. Go out and meet with somebody. Meet with a group. Invite 4 or 5 friends. Go have coffee, whatever you got to do. Go do something outside your home. Leave your cell phone at home for a change. Get your head out of the technology and go talk sense to people and build relationships. And I point back a lot to the Ron Paul revolution, not to say any libertarian thing at all, but Ron Paul was successful because young people decided they wanted to meet in person and they used this new internet service called meetup.com. And they started posting. People say, you know what? Honey, why don't we go down? Let's go down to the park on Sunday. Let's have a meetup. Yeah. And they'd post a meetup, and 50 people would show up at the park, and they'd barbecue. They don't know each other. They did after they were done. And that's how they congealed the whole Ron Paul revolution, was meeting in person. We need to get back to that. In my opinion, America will fail if we fail to connect with our fellow citizens. And then beyond that, you need to get involved in your local civic affairs and start doing something. Don't just shake your fist at the TV and yell at the Fox News or CNN or whatever. You need to get out and start going to city council meetings. Take a camera with you, for peace sake, and can't photograph, videotape everything that at these meetings and stuff, and find out what they're doing. And, you will find stuff quickly enough and it doesn't matter what your interest is. Maybe your interest is in education. Maybe you don't like Common Core. Maybe you don't like property rights or the way things are being zoned in your community. Maybe you don't like some of the cozy public-private partnerships that your city is selling you into, or your county. Doesn't matter what the issues are. There are issues, and we need to address them from the ground up. That's at this point. That's why I created Citizens for Free Speech, and I think still that's a ray of hope. If there were 50,000 people across America, or 100,000 people who were dedicated to being active every week in their local communities, we'd make a difference. Just a small group of people would make a huge difference. And people are so hungry for leaders to stand up, Jimmy, I can't tell you. We have no leadership, basically. There's a few bright spots here and there, but we have no overall leadership. We need generals who understand strategy. We need generals who can look at the strategy of the enemy and say, we'll meet you on the field, on a level field now, thank you very much. And we'll bring our troops against your troops, if you will, passively, of course. I'm not talking about killing anybody, we'll meet you on the field the battlefield of ideas, and we'll whoop your butt. And I still believe that the ideals that we live in within America, the traditional historic ideals that we've had here, have literally made us the greatest planet, the greatest nation on the earth, on the whole planet. I really believe that. Our not just our Constitution, but our right to private property, to enjoy property, as we see fit, to do stuff, creative stuff with it, invent things, build things, raise families and stuff. This is foundational to our country. These people want to rip it away.
There's something to be said about that in a very direct sense, and we still have the basics of the basics in place here. And one example, and you can't do this anywhere else on the planet, and I don't care. Well, maybe Canada, but you can jump in a car in New York and drive to California. Drive across borders, right? State borders, and through all of the local governments. You have the freedom to do that. You have the freedom to quit your job, pack up, move somewhere else, and not have a job, if that's what you want. Right. Whatever. Right. We still have those basic freedoms here, and we need to recognize that. And then on the flip side, this is what is amazing. I was in New York last year with my wife. I was out there taping for our TV show. And I'm walking in New York. The greatest thing that you can do in New York is walk. Just walk out and turn left, turn right, and wherever you end up, and do it for a few hours. It's a glorious thing to do. Well, now when you do that and you're walking down the street in New York, I don't know how they've got this ability now. It's in the DNA, where there are tens of thousands of people walking past you, staring at their cell phones as they walk. They're able to not bump into people. They have the sixth sense thing going on. But anyway, the New Yorkers used to talk and but now. And this is indicative of everywhere you go. Go to a museum today. Go to a museum and look at, there are paintings and sculpture and things on display, and people are looking at their cell phones. instead of looking around at the museum or whatever. I don't know how we did this so fast in a few years, Patrick, where it's the TV show Black Mirror. Have you seen that, by the way?
Oh, I've seen enough of it to really creep me out.
And the writers of that are so accurate. If you want to scare the crap out of yourself, go watch Black Mirror and realize that we are, in some cases with Black Mirror, we're there now. It's not in the distant future. We are fully living Black Mirror.
Yes. And there's a time window that we have right now. I think it's closing. I think it is closing on us, but there's still a time window, I think, for us to be able to mount some resistance to what's happening in the world today. And even if we could look ahead and know that we're going to lose, I would still take the position that over my dead body, that's the way it's going to have to be in the end. I'm not going to give up pointing the finger at these people. I've been doing it for 45 years. Why should I stop now anyway? And, I think there's a lot of people feel the same way, that they would rather live standing up and free than on their knees and being a slave, to this world they're trying to bring about. So they have some stiff resistance coming. I really feel this in my bones that America is not completely counted out yet. And if this really catches on with programs like this, Jimmy, I mean, 2 years ago, there was not a ghost of a chance to get on a program like Coast to Coast or on Fade to Black. It just wasn't going to happen. But now the barriers are being broken down. You see, people are willing to talk about it now. You're willing to talk about it. And I see other people all the time that I've heard of that. I want to, tell me what's going on, whatever. They want to know now. So if this thing really catches on and goes, quote unquote, viral, the tables could turn very quickly. Yeah, very quickly.
I thought this is how crazy my mind works, right? So I'm walking down the street in New York with my wife, and I'm looking at the seas of people, and I love it, right? I just love it. But everybody, and I had this weird thought, everybody's looking at their cell phones. And what if Facebook just did a general text message all at once and said, okay, everybody turn left now. And how many, and just watch like lemmings, right? How many people that I'm looking at up Broadway, right? Times Square, turn left into the street.
Oh my gosh.
Right? That's the control we're talking about. That is a crazy, powerful tool that I think that the Bezos of the world and Zuckerberg and certainly Bill Gates and others, they now understand this. And then when you take it, it's them. I don't know where their moral compass is, but there are others out there and that don't have our best intentions in consideration here.
Well, that's right. You're absolutely right. And a lot of big tech leaders in Silicon Valley don't let their kids have this technology. They don't. They won't let them even have a cell phone, some of them, until they're like 15 years old. It's because they know the addictive nature. And psychiatrists now and scientists have actually proven that it is addictive, because when you get a positive reinforcement, like somebody likes your page or your post or whatever, it releases a little microdose of serotonin in or melatonin in your serotonin in your brain, like dopamine, and you get a little mini hit, and you can get addicted to that. That's why people, they stare at it. They can't take their eyes off of it, because somebody might like their post or their picture, or say something to them. They can't let go. And whenever something comes on, and they've done brain scans and watch people do this. Whenever something happens like that, you get a little ding, you get a little release of dopamine. It's just like taking a drug, just not as heavy of a drug, but it still is addictive, where people cannot put their phone down. They've got to have more.
I got 100 likes on my last post. I've got to get to 200 now. And it is totally going back to Black Mirror with that. And certainly China now, let's talk about that for a second. China now has an index on all of their citizens. You are ranked. You have a ranking that you get entitlements from, right? Or denied entitlements, actually, too, as
well.
They
call it social credit scoring. It has nothing to do with money. It's just basically an indication of how good a citizen you are. If they feel like you're useful to the state, then you have a high score, like maybe a 700 or 750. And if you are a troublemaker or just somebody who doesn't fit in, maybe you jaywalk too many times, you got too many tickets jaywalking, or maybe you rub shoulders with the wrong people that are troublemakers, your score goes down, down, down. And the lower your score goes, the more privileges are taken away from you. And the higher your score goes, and you say, well, okay, what's some examples? Well, if you have a low score, like to say a 300 out of 800, you won't be able to buy a plane ticket. You won't be able to probably get on a train either to go anywhere. You won't live in a better apartment in town, and you certainly won't go to get enrolled in a school, any of the better, universities to get a higher education. You'll be frozen out, in other words, of all the good life in China. And if you follow all the rules and you don't incur fines and you don't jaywalk and you this, that, and the other, whatever they think makes them happy with you, your score goes up, and all of a sudden you'll find you have all these privileges. This is social engineering. I mean, this is the essence of social engineering, which is the heartbeat of technocracy.
Is it gotten to the point in China, like if I'm in a market or I go up and I'm going to do a purchase, is my national ID card scanned and my number is then viewed, and okay, you can't buy that much fish today, right? Is it like that? Is that where it is?
It hasn't moved that far yet, but there's no reason that it won't. And judging by where they are already, I expect that's going to happen. If you jaywalk in a big city, like say in Beijing, you walk across the street in the kitty corner, the cameras will identify you before you even get to the middle of the street. And you'll find on your phone, on your smartphone, you'll find a ticket for jaywalking before you even get back to where you live. And in some cases, if you've agreed to it in advance, the money for the fine will already be taken out of your account. This is micromanagement of just inconceivable levels. There was a reporter from New York, New York Times somewhere, went to China to test their bragging about being able to find somebody in a big city with their biometric system in minutes. This guy went over there and said, okay, I want to take my picture, put it in there. I want you to give me a 15-minute head start. And I'm going to take off, and I'll see how long it takes you to find me. And he thought, I'll fool these guys. So he takes off. They do that. He takes off. He's down in the train station eventually after about 15 minutes where there's tens of thousands of people coming and going and whatever, He's in this train station, and all of a sudden he gets a tap on the shoulder, and he looks around, and there's a squad of policemen right behind him. And they say, you come with us, sir.
Really?
7 minutes flat, Jimmy. From the time they pull the trigger and push the button, find this guy, it took them 7 minutes. And of course, they had to get a squad together to go in the train station and actually then, find him. But 7 minutes, start to finish, they found this guy. That's the level of sophistication of their biometric scanners and stuff. It's just inconceivable. And they're putting in, right now, they have something like 300 million cameras installed around the country for a population of 1.4 billion?
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking to put in, by 2020, they're looking to increase that to 600 million cameras.
One for every two people.
That's right. That's insanity.
That is insanity. But
this is technocracy. This is the heart of the technocrat, the mind of the technocrat. You have to monitor every living, moving thing in the society so that you can use your advanced artificial intelligence programs to model what's going on in society so that you can make midterm corrections because you are the head engineer.
And okay, now what do you do with the argument that's presented that, and I'm going to keep you for overtime. I don't care. We've got to do some overtime. There's too many things that are left on the table here. But what do you do with what's about to pop up in Twitter right now as I say to you, okay, well, where can everybody go and get your book? And your response is, go ahead, say it out loud.
Technocracy.news. That's a safe place to get it. Amazon is the fast place to get it. You'll get it delivered in a day, maybe by helicopter someday or drone. But Amazon does carry my book right now.
Is that hypocritical?
You know what? It probably, well, I say on one hand, you could interpret it as being hypocritical. On the other hand, I want this book into the hands of as many American people as possible. And I honestly, at this point, within reason, I don't care how it gets into their hands. You know, I do a lot of radio programs with people that I probably wouldn't socialize with necessarily. You know, that maybe they don't agree with me on everything. I've even done a show on some out and out liberal programs, and you know, I want to be gracious to everybody, but this is an American issue. It's not an issue of Republican versus Democrat or liberal versus that, you know, what you believe, what I believe, whatever. This is an American issue right now, and we are all going down the tubes together if we don't band together and do something about it. So, yeah, I give it to Amazon. As long as they'll sell it for me, I'll let them sell it, and, you know, we'll get a good distribution network. I will say, however, I had a reader call me today or yesterday, not a reader, but a bookstore from California called me, said they wanted to buy a book for a customer that wanted them to get it. And she said, well, I called Ingram, the big wholesaler, book wholesaler. I called Ingram, and Ingram told me that the book was out of print. So, oh, really?
The technocrats are censoring you. Yeah. Well, I you know, and I thought about that. When you have a book out called Technocracy Rising, right? The Trojan horse of global transformation being distributed by technocrats. Are they aware, right? Are they aware that they are distributing this type of material?
I don't know that they are.
That's right.
I suppose some people are, but I just don't know.
It's very interesting, and you know they,
they figure I'm such a little person that I'm of no consequence to them, and they really don't care. That's probably more plausible than anything else.
Well, you know they all listen to this show, right? And they're on their keyboards right now. Patrick Wood, delete. Right? Okay, yep. Let's take a break right here, Patrick, and when we come back, I've got a bunch of questions that were presented here in Twitter, so we'll get to those. And we'll do a little overtime tonight. Great show tonight, Patrick. And I'm glad this was fresh stuff, too, as well, that we needed to get to, that we didn't get a chance to do on Sunday night. And we'll be right back after this short break. More with Patrick Wood, Technocracy 2.0. Stay with us.
And you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and my family is safe because of Numana Emergency Food Storage. Just go to the Numana banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code Jimmy10.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
This is Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black, doing some overtime with our guest tonight, Patrick Wood. His book, and it is a must-read, Technocracy Rising. There it is right there. Go and get it. You can go to technocracy.news and get the book there. And, of course, you can get it from Jeff Bezos and Amazon. Patrick, okay, check this out. This comes in from John T. Jimmy, how long would it be before a corporation simply ignores the government and takes over the territory? For instance, what is stopping one of these ginormous corporations or hedge funds or whatever to go in and buy the state of Kansas, right? Come and get me, Kappa. What is stopping them from doing that? They certainly could afford it.
They could. And what probably disturbs me as much as anything is the collusion that's going on between these big tech companies. It's not just somebody like an Amazon, but when you consider all their joint power together, if they band together to make a power move, it'd be much greater than just one company trying to do something, if you get my drift.
Right.
And, I've theorized about this a lot. What would it take for them to call game over? And honestly, I can't, my brain doesn't have it all. So, I'm not quite in tune with everything going on to know all the requirements that they would have in their mind to think that they could call game over. But I do believe that there's a point theoretically that could exist that that they would conclude, hey, we don't need them anymore. You know, we got all the cards. We're shooting the moon, as you say. If you're what is it, that hearts? If you play hearts, right? You get enough cards in your hand. You know when you get the right combination of cards that you can, so to speak, shoot the moon and win the whole thing, right? So I think they probably have some idea in their own heads about what it would take, and they're probably getting much closer to that today. But it is a clear and present danger in my mind. I can't answer the questions head on, but to me, it's a clear and present danger.
It scares me when we think about the money system and the banking system and you know, seriously, PayPal and what PayPal is now doing on a global scale. It's a frightening aspect of it. But what if, and I'll just paint this kind of picture, what if the Pentagon defaults on some loans to a bank and the bank goes, you know what, I'm taking your Navy. Right? Right? I mean, that's a game over situation right there.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. I'll take that USS Enterprise over there.
That's right. I'll take a nuclear sub. Thank you so much.
That's right. Yeah. Monopoly on the oceans. I love it.
It could be. And when we look at not only the third world, but you look at the dominance of what China's trying to do in Africa, which we did and Russia did, and now it's China's turn at this. But this is something that goes on all the time. These governments are borrowing money from banks to facilitate their infrastructure and their army and their military. And if they defaulted, what would stop a bank from going in and going, you know what? We own your nuclear power plant now, and now we're in control. But that's where we are. Yes,
it very well could be. And you know, there's so many cross currents in this whole thing that would seem dangerous. The higher the elevation you can get, the higher your horizon is, the better to see the big picture. And I'm constantly struggling with that myself. When I get wrapped into the lower level things, the minutia of the problem, I lose sight of the big picture. And I'm constantly fighting with myself to keep my horizon as high as I possibly can. And that helps you to see, really kind of get the big picture and see what's going on and what their strategy is.
Now, what about electronic funds and RFID chips and your bank being, embedded into you? We've been warned about that. Me personally, I still like the kind of money that folds. There's something to that. But would you be chipped? No, I would patently refuse it. But on the other hand, how can you refuse a facial scan? They can take your picture at a distance and identify you 6 ways to Sunday. Right. You get your driver's license. They know who you are and they have your picture. They share it with the federal government. It's all in there. So, in India now, they're scanning irises at a distance. You just walk by the thing and they scan your iris and they add that to your fingerprint and your everything else. They get your DNA. They add that in there too. Well, so the control of your this is the scary part, and it's a very direct sense. If we're so close to taking the plunge now with ATM cards, right? Mm-hmm. People are using cash less and less and less, and I would venture to say that there are quite a few people that never have cash on them now, ever. They just don't do it. And I get that, and I understand why. But if you relinquish that control, and suddenly everything, if we go to a cashless society, and there's a lot of countries out there that are experimenting with this right now, that if somebody wants to flip the switch on you, there's nothing you can do. Right? Nothing. No, there's nothing. Right. Absolutely nothing. If there's a homeless person, outside of a 7-Eleven, and you go up to him in a cashless society, and dude, what happened? Well, man, last week, man, they flipped the switch. Right? There's nothing you can do. There's nothing. You couldn't even give him money. Right?
No. That's right. You're absolutely right. That's one of the big drivers for cashless society right now, is to force everybody into the system. You remember the definition of technocracy I read initially about the word entire?
Mm-hmm.
It appeared twice in that little short definition. They want everybody in the system, and the way to do it is to take away the cash, so they're forced to get an electronic ID card of some sort. And all the people, I mean, even in our country right now, we have about 20% of our economy they're not banked at all. They have no bank account. They do everything with cash. Those people are going to be forced into the system. And think about third world countries and like India and whatever, they're being forced in right now. The people that aren't banked, they don't want to be banked, or they would be. But this is manipulation, and they're being forced into the system. Little by little.
Yeah, and the other part of this, which were the evidence of this, I keep saying PayPal, but if you go back and look in your own life right now, and I'm speaking to this audience, if you go and you look at your own life and how everything is tied together now with your ATM card paying your electric bill or your car payment or your insurance payments, your cable bill, your internet bill. When was the last time anybody listening to this program wrote a check? I don't even have a checkbook anymore. Do you have a checkbook, Patrick?
Actually, I do. And very occasionally, I'll write a check for some specific reason, but by and large, no, I do everything with plastic.
Our checkbook, which is so out of date now. I used to pay a gardener. He wanted to be paid with a check. I don't know why. That was the reason for the existence of a checkbook over at our house. But everything you do now is tied to your ATM card. And then your shopping, your internet, everything that you're doing online now, virtually is a PayPal world, which is tied back to your checking account. And everything is now moved around electronically. It is a virtual cash system for everybody here. And that is the world that we live in today. And I don't know how to reverse the trend. I really don't.
Well, there's ways on a local city basis. For instance, companies like Visa recently, I think last year, announced a special prize, like $10,000 award for any restaurant that would just take plastic, not cash. They had to go cashless, but they'd get a reward for it. Well, that's illegal, and I'll tell you what, nobody challenged it on a national basis, but several cities have stood up and told Visa, it is illegal in our town to declare that cash is not legal tender. And you will not do that in our town, and it will be punishable by our statutes in town. If any restaurant goes along with this and refuses to take cash, they will not have their permit very much longer.
Yeah, somebody just posted, just try to withdraw $10,000 cash tomorrow and see what happens.
Can't do it.
We have, and this is one thing that I love. I've got a local farmer collective that you can go to, cash only. That's it. And so when we go there, and we do, strawberries and corn and all the things that we love to get there, and it's all local. But we got to go by the bank, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just like I turned to Rita. You got cash? No, I don't have cash. Okay, let's go get some cash. But I love doing that. There's still something about that I appreciate. And then there's the other flip side to all of this, though. With all of this convenience and everything that is presented now with an ATM card, which was pretty revolutionary in 1985. Today, it is the accepted form of everything. Because of that, they know, and when I say they, everybody from the IRS and the government down to the retailer and everybody in between, they know every step of everything that you have done and will do, and predictively know what you are about to do tomorrow. It's all in a file now for everybody, correct?
That's right. And there's instant sharing of information across platforms. If you have your in some cases if you have your cell phone sitting by your person and you're in the living room chatting with friends or whatever, and you talk about some certain product or something, the next day you're liable to see that on your browser or in your email, and you go, gee, how would they know that where did that ad come from? And it's predictive marketing. They actually can pick out keywords out of conversations. Smart TVs do this also. And or they'll watch your browser activity online, and you all of a sudden in some completely unrelated area, you'll start getting ads, bombarded with ads for that product that you talked about.
There's something I want to ask you about. I saw this Okay, this has been happening to me for about 2 years now. I forgot to mention this. In supermarkets and Target and so forth. Now, I just said Target. Target, don't sue me, please. That was an accident. I take it back. What's Target? Tregat. I sucked it back in my mouth. Is the automatic coupon printing machines as you walk down an aisle, and I have seen them print things instantly as I approach it. Right? And it happens to be exactly what I was just thinking about.
Oh, that's just coincidence, Jimmy.
Yeah. What? Right? What? That is some technology. I mean, look, the coupon isn't for diapers. Something that I don't need. It happens to be for antacid or whatever it is that I was just, how that is an example right there of AI and predictive stuff. And it is. And I'm walking down an aisle and they know it's me.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. It's really creepy. Amazon has this new store now called Amazon Go. There's no employees in it whatsoever. It's completely electronic. You walk in, you pay with your phone on the way out, but you pick things up in your basket, and it keeps a tally on what's in your basket as you walk around the store. It watches what you take off the shelf and what you put back on the shelf. It watches your eye movement to know what you're looking at, what you're scanning, what you're interested in, if you read the labels or don't read the labels and stuff. And it analyzes you completely as you go through the store to find out what your buying habits are. And as you walk out, your debit card, your bank account is simply just debited by everything you have in your bags. Completely automatic, cashierless, and nobody in the store, just people walking around, and there's stockers maybe in the back that are shoving stuff in the cabinets, the coal stuff. But this is gonna absolutely upend the grocery business around the country, because now that they've tested this up in Seattle, they're rolling this out around the country with more Amazon Go stores. Now, it's pretty creepy.
Is there evidence, and I would think that this type of collusion would be completely illegal, certainly if we were aware of it, but when I do swipe or make a purchase with my ATM or with a credit card, with a private credit card company, is that purchase shared with marketers?
It's up to the company, and in most cases, I will say yes. I would always assume that a company like the one that you mentioned that started with a T, or any of the big department stores or any of the big grocery stores, whatever, if they choose to sell your data on what you purchase, there's nothing in particular stopping them from doing it. They make money on it. They take your data and they profit from it, because money or data is worth money.
Yeah, because
So if they know that, for instance, if a grocery store knows that you buy a dozen eggs a week, but not any eggs, you like to get the giant cage-free eggs, right? If they know that, other companies will gladly pay them. Give me a list of people who like range, whatever they call it, cage-free chicken-laid eggs, that roam the range.
Right, free range.
We have another product that would appeal to people that buy that kind of egg. Maybe we have organic frying pans or something, to cook those eggs in. And they share this kind of information all the time.
Because, I'm thinking about, I think most would think that, okay, yeah, on the internet, okay, I'm surfing, I'm clicking, okay, this data is out there, it's being collected, sure, okay, that makes a lot of sense. If you're in the supermarket and you're spending a couple of $100 for a week's worth of groceries and you've got 100 items that are going through, right, and getting scanned, that's a whole lot of valuable data. Right there, that and you swipe that, and that data tied to me because I didn't pay cash, right? Mm-hmm. I run my credit card, I run my ATM card. Now that chunk of data is tied to me and goes into a file and is sold. That's valuable data.
Yes, it is, and they sell it. That's right. That's exactly right. That's and of course that's right. The key mission. With technocracy, that definition we read in the beginning, they require information on everybody, what everybody bought, consumed, and, the whole 9 yards. They want to keep a complete folio on everybody. Now they have the technology to do it, and they're doing it.
So
Amazon's leading the way, by the way, with this kind of stuff. Oh, my gosh, they've got this down to a science. They really do.
We should just there's got to be a way to be a rebel with this. Just like change your habits one day and just go and buy, I don't know, baby shoes, or I don't know, just throw them off their game to see and to test and to just throw it off. Like everybody in the country at once buys motor oil, just something crazy.
Yep.
Right. You're laughing. I am.
No, you're right. I'm laughing in agreement. It would be hilarious.
I mean, just throw them off their game.
Yep. I suggested a few years ago that if enough people went to the bank and drew out just $100, that they essentially could collapse the fractional banking system. But of course, that movement never took place, or never did it. But theoretically, it's possible.
Oh, that would actually that would collapse the fractal banking system. If
it would.
If 200 million people did it at the same time,
that's right.
It would dissolve. It would dissolve.
It would go poof. Wouldn't that be great?
That is actually funny.
I know. That reminds me of an old Star Trek episode where Captain Kirk is arguing with some computer that's trying to destroy the spaceship, or it was taken over or something, and finally he asks it this illogical question that it cannot possibly process, and the thing starts to melt down, and smoke starts coming out, and it finally just goes, meh, and it dies because he asked it a question that was illogical or something, and it couldn't process it.
Why don't you run for office?
I'm too old.
No, I'm being serious. You're not too old.
I know. And I'll tell you what, I am so dedicated to researching, writing, and communicating to people. This is where I belong. I really believe that. I've had offers, to run for office over the years. And what I'm doing right now, nobody else is doing, and it is critical stuff. I really believe that. And sometimes it's just me that believes it, and my wife believes in me, fortunately.
Right.
But sometimes it's a lonely spot. But we had these people pegged, Jimmy, back in as early as 1978. We had these people absolutely pegged as to what they were doing. It's a con job. It's a bunco. It's just... in the simplest terms, that's all it is, but it's of global magnitude. And by the way, I have to say, your listeners will love my new book that's just going to come out. It may even hit Amazon by the end of the week. It's called The Hard Road to World Order. And it's going to chronicle kind of the soft side of it, some of the stuff we're talking about, not all the technical stuff that I have in Technocracy Rising. This is going to be more of a common man's book to really understand, what we're talking about here.
Can it be pre-ordered on Amazon?
No, they don't let you do that. As far as I can tell, they don't let you pre-order. But it'll be out in a matter of a few days. People will see it if they go there. Just if they see the other books or they search for my name, Patrick Wood, it'll show up.
Well, thank you. And so that'll be out in about a week. What's it called again?
The full title is Technocracy, The Hard Road to World Order.
I can't wait to get it. I can't wait.
The Hard Road to World Order.
And I'm going to hold it up to the cameras one more time. There it is. Technocracy Rising. I keep saying Technology Rising. It's the same thing, actually. Technocracy Rising. And thank you for this, and thank you for the book. And I can't wait to get you back on. When the new book comes out, we'll get you on shortly. Do you do any public speaking, Patrick?
I do as often as I can. I'm not crazy to travel, but that people have to pay my accommodations to get there, and I don't want to get all worn out just by getting there. So it depends on where it is.
Right.
But yes, I do. I do as much public speaking as I can, and the only basic thing is that they have to be interested in what I have to say. I don't want to go into an ambush. Some organizations would do, but I want to talk to American people. I don't care how I talk to them.
Have you thought?
I really do like to talk in person, just to meet people.
Yeah, and you're such an effective speaker. Have you thought about a podcast? I
have, and I've done podcast broadcasting over the last several years. My problem with it is that, and I'm sure you can identify with it. In fact, I think I told you, I fully understand what a backbreaking job it is to be in radio because it never lets up. There is no such thing as taking a day off and playing hooky.
No,
you just can't do it.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
So I've tried various formats. I said, well, I'll do one once a week, and then, or maybe not every day. And I'll try to do one a week, and something happens. So now I just do it sporadically. As I get somebody I really want to interview, I might interview them and put it up on my website. But fortunately, I'm on enough programs, with different radio hosts and stuff. They all send me their links, and I'll post those up on my Podbean account. Let my listeners, go there and hear them. It's kind of like an archive of me.
Sure.
It's. It's not, I would like to interview some people. It would be fun to interview a bunch of people that really have something to do with this. I'd love to travel the country. I'd love to go up to Technocracy Incorporated in North Washington State with a camera and a microphone and go interview those old guys up there. Just put that out.
I would do that. I would go with you. That actually sounds like a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Patrick, and I can't wait for the new book to come out. And again, it's technocracy.news, and the links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Fantastic conversation tonight, Patrick. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you so much, Jimmy.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and so does this audience. Patrick Wood. Again, technocracy.news. It's right there at jimmychurchradio.com. I want to remind everybody, tomorrow night is Fader Night. It is open lines all night long. We do have Teresa Llaneras coming in, Divine Frequency on the airwaves, followed by open lines. And the one thing that Patrick just said is true. We work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This weekend, we are off. So we get caught up on things like booking the shows for the rest of the month, creating artwork, working on the new website, and doing it all for you because it absolutely never ends. But we, like my father once said, it's the life you chose. So there you go. All right, we do it all for you. With that, I'm going to get out of here. I'll see everybody tomorrow night. It is Fader Night, open lines all night long. Truly my favorite night of the week when I get to hang out with all of you. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Camurian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Viteau, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. Thank you to Patrick Wood. Again, the book, Technocracy Rising. It's right there. It's broadcast owned and copyrighted 2018 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission for Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I am your host, Jimmy Church. I'll see everybody tomorrow night. But until then, be safe. Go Beckley Tappy.